Y'all ready for episode 3?
Let's go. What's up? What's up? What's up?
Good evening, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yes. We hope that everyone is doing well. And we're here with a brand new episode that we think that y'all really gonna love and enjoy. But for those who don't know us and who are new to watching and listening to us, let us introduce ourselves. I am your girl Shnequia, aka S.
And I am your girl, Lakesha, aka L.
And together we are insightful conversations with SNL. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to go ahead and click that like button, and also go ahead and subscribe to our channel and hit that bell for the notifications so you will never miss an episode. And you can also listen to us on all major podcast platforms. Don't worry, we will be reminding you again of this at the end of the episode. So, but just go ahead and click like and subscribe. All right, for us. So, Lakeisha, how have things been going with you so far?
All has been well in my neck of the woods. I've been kind of sick for the past couple
Oh.
of weeks. Not with COVID.
Yeah, we have to put that out there.
Not with COVID, but definitely caught a cold. And so I'm still in recovery mode at this moment. But other than that, everything is a-okay. I'm swell, I'm well, so I have no complaints. What about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Being a little bit busy lately, but nonetheless, I can't complain. Busy is good sometimes. It keeps me
Oh
focused
yeah.
and keeps me grinding. So I'm good about that. But yeah, I've been doing well. All right. Well, now that we've gotten our little introductions out of the way, we can go ahead and get started with one of our favorite parts of the episode, something we call buzzworthy topics. So, Lakeisha, what has been buzzworthy in your week?
So I don't know about you all, but I have been keeping up with all things hashtag gas. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if you all have not noticed, for the first time since I can remember, since like 2007, 2008, that the gas prices have been as high as they are now. I know when I went to go gas my car up Saturday night, gas per gallon was 3.99 here in Tallahassee. And the next day it was 4.19. And that's currently where it's been sitting at
Mm-hmm.
in this particular region of Florida. But I was reading and doing some research and things like that. And of course, we know that a lot of this has to do with all things going on with Russia and Ukraine. But of course, there's other factors that factor into why crude and gasoline oil prices have skyrocketed, like they have done in the past couple of weeks and things like that. So it would not surprise me, to be honest, if we continue to see a hike in gas prices to about $4.50. I was reading somewhere that it could even get up to $5 by Labor Day weekend. So for those of you all, that's living on limited income, or even those of you all that may not necessarily be living on a limited income, you may have the means and things like that. Just be mindful when it comes to if you're looking to save yourself some money and things like that, making sure that you keep your tires properly inflated, that you stay on top of your schedule when it comes to your maintenance for your car, things like that. Don't break hard. I definitely wouldn't let my tank get under about 50%, like I said, with everything that's
Mm-hmm.
going on with these gas prices and things like that. And that are just some ways that could potentially save you some money, because we don't know how long, this is going to play out and have an effect on each and every one of us. So that's my buzzworthy topic for today, is these
Yeah.
gas prices. And I hope that people, don't start taking advantage of those less fortunate, trying to trick people out of money, trying to charge people ridiculous things like that. But like I said, we don't know how long this is going to go on. So we definitely could continue to see some hikes and some increases in gas prices across the United States.
Yeah. And I just want to say also, I know you had mentioned about like what it is currently in Florida, and that's about like how it is up here in Georgia, especially in the Atlanta area too. And I know in some parts of the country, I think it's already like in the $5 range, or might be
Mm,
even a little bit more. So I don't know for sure. So don't quote me on that. But I think I remember reading something about that. So, but I hope they get this taken care of soon, because
yeah.
the price, I mean, this is just getting ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. So,
Yeah, and with spring break coming up,
mm-hmm,
especially in the southern region of the United States, where a lot of people are going to be on the road this weekend and just for the next couple of weeks. Like I said, that's something that you may have to take a look at, with regards to maybe altering your budget, taking some funds from entertainment or from another aspect and
right.
putting it into your gas tank and things like that. So, like I said, y'all be mindful, when you're on the road, and if you don't necessarily, have to drive, long distances, keep it short so that, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, you can save yourself a buck or two over the long run.
Facts. Facts.
What about yourself, cuz? What is buzzworthy in your neck of the woods?
Well, I always have to give you the celebrity news, celebrity tea. Well, first things first, Wendy Williams show has been officially canceled. I know they've been talking about that for the past few weeks. And it's being reported that Sherry Shepherd is basically taking over her time slot. Because Sherry has been one of the rotating guest hosts that's been guest hosting this season of Wendy
Hmm.
Williams show. So yeah, um, I actually was a fan of the Wendy Williams show, so I'm a little bit sad about it ending. I feel like this is kind of like a end of an era, if you will. I do know that the show is supposed to end in June, and I'm just wondering if Wendy will come at least to say goodbye to the viewers. But it doesn't sound like that may happen. So I'm not sure, but I really hope that we could, at least get something from her. And I hope that this isn't the end of her being in entertainment. I mean, I know that she's been having a
Yeah,
lot of health issues and whatnot, but I hope this isn't the end for her. I hope maybe she does a podcast. I think that would be pretty cool, with podcasts being really hot right now. So, I mean, or maybe she might do something in radio again, since that's where she got started. But nonetheless, I do hope that things continue to, get better for her, and that she improves in her health, and that this is not the end of her
right,
in the entertainment business. And also, congratulations to Sherry too. you know um we'll see how her talk show goes. Um Hopefully it'll be successful and things like that. So that's that. And then also, y'all know that Kim and Kanye are divorcing. The courts have legally considered Kim Kardashian to be single. So she has officially dropped West from her last name. So she's going back to Kim Kardashian. And I know that y'all had heard a lot about, how Kanye was reacting to this, doing a lot of stuff, that appear to be like stalking, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Clearly he's not taking the end of this marriage, well, based off what we've been seeing. So I just hope that, his mental health is still continuing to be intact. Because sometimes I do worry about him, because I don't want to like read about him or anything like that. So I'm hoping that, that he continues to be on the mend with that.
I agree. I agree. I think that there's so much more stored up for Kanye than he actually realizes for himself. And wish Kim the best, and also wish Kanye the best in all of his endeavors moving forward.
Yes, exactly. So that's pretty much all I had in buzzworthy topics. I mean, there's a lot more stuff going on, but those are the ones that just kind of stuck out to me. All right. So, well, with that being said, you ready to go ahead and get into this lovely episode that we got together
Let's
for
get
the
into
people? Okay. So we call this episode You versus Me, the art of compromising and non negotiables. Keisha, you want to give a background?
it. You can go, cuz.
You want me to go? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, basically, this topic just kind of came about when we were talking about just things related to relationships. And what I mean by relationships, it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It can be friendships or,
Hmm.
coworkers or whatever have you. And just thinking about what are some examples of like things you would compromise on, and what are some things that you just will not accept. We call those non-negotiables, if you will. And we were just thinking about how that relates to a person within themselves in terms of like how they view themselves, their self-esteem, their self-image, and things like that. So we just thought this would be a good topic, good fun discussion to talk about in terms of how it relates to compromising and non-negotiables. So, how do we want to get started with this topic? What do you think is a good starting point?
Um, let's start off. I mean, with self. So
Okay.
going back to self-esteem and one's self-worth, because that's where really all of this, at the end of the day, regardless of who we're with, like you said, whether it's romantic, whether it's platonic, it could even be just a professional relationship. What you allow, um, into your spheres, and how you allow people to treat you at the end of the day goes back to you, and how you view and how you see and how you love yourself. So I think that that's always a great starting point, is us.
Mm-hmm. So I remember we kind of had a similar discussion about this in season one, our second episode of season one, where we talked about self-esteem and self-worth. And we were talking about the differences in the two, because there are differences, believe it or
Hmm.
not. So, like self-esteem is really about like what we think about ourselves, how we feel, and what we believe regarding ourselves. Whereas like self-worth is more about recognizing that you are valuable and that you are worthy of having good things happen for you. And like you said, I think that is a good place to start, because a lot of times, and I know you said this a lot of times, Lakeisha, on our podcast about, we treat people how we want them to treat us. And I think that that really starts first and foremost with how we treat ourselves
Hmm.
and what we allow in our space, to take our energy and things like that. And so I know for me, like when I think about this particular topic of self-esteem and self-worth, I look at like, how that is developed. you know um for me, just self-disclosing a little bit, I didn't always have the best, self-esteem or whatever. Primarily because I just didn't think that I was worthy of, good things or whatever. But then, despite people telling me, like my parents or friends or whatever saying, you are a good person, you deserve all, good things that happen to you. I didn't believe that. And so that was something that I really kind of struggled with throughout my life, especially when I got into adulthood. And it wasn't until probably within the past few years that I really got a chance to really work on that and figure out a lot of where that was coming from. And, and now I can say that I'm in a much definitely better space. than I was back then. And I say a lot of that had to do with, you know, me pursuing counseling, which is what we always talked about. We
Hmm.
talk about this a lot on our podcast about the importance of taking care of our mental health and really seeking professional help when we need to. And I think that helped me to not only figure out like what works for me in terms of like what I'm willing to accept and what I'm not. It also helped me in terms of like relationships that I form with other people, in terms of like what to look for, what's going to work for me, what type of people that I don't want in my, you know, environment, in my space or whatever. And so I think that definitely that first part of just really knowing who you are is
Yes,
very important before you can do anything else, form relationships with anyone else.
you are so correct, cuz you are so correct. Cuz it's when we try to take a shortcut, or we try to avoid getting to know ourselves, the good, the bad, and the ugly, confronting um those demons, what we've gone through, those tragedies, and facing those things, our fears, facing those things head on. And we try to, just sweep it to the side and think, oh, this hasn't had an effect on me, or I'll deal with it, come X, Y, and Z. And you've moved on with your life, or like I said, you've met people and invited them into your personal space, and then you wonder why, you go through the things that you go through, or why you allow the type of toxic behavior that you allow from others, knowing that you deserve more, you are much worthy than what you are allowing. But because, like I said, you have not done the work,
Mm-hmm.
you have not sat with yourself in those moments to figure out and kind of dive deep as to why you move the way you move, you feel the way that you feel, you think the way that you think, why you even attract certain people into your environment. It becomes an ever repetitive cycle. And so at some point, we've all got to sit down, especially if we want better
Mm-hmm.
for not only ourselves, but even the next generation that's attached to us. And like I said, figure out, like, why is it that we've gone through the things that we've gone through, and why we deal and or just allow people to just treat us just any kind of way. And so when you get to that point where, like my mom used to say, and she still says today, you'll know when you get to that point where enough is enough. And you've kind of reached that point, like, I'm done. um I feel that at that point is when you make a decision, or you have like that light bulb that comes on in your head, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, no more, no more. Even if I have to walk this journey, walk this path by myself, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I may have been in a relationship with this person for 6 years, 10 years, but even 15 years. But I know that there's no growth, there's no strength here. Um, and I can do better. This person can do better. And sometimes doing better means that we got to part ways. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But like I said, all of us have to come to that point, and all of us reach that point at a different time. But like I said, until you know better and you truly know who you are, flaws and all, you are going to forever continue to have the type of negative relationships and toxic interactions that you have.
Mm-hmm. That is true. And I think you did bring up a great point about like knowing when you're at your breaking point. And I think for
Yeah.
me, that's when I knew that, you know, like cuz I got tired of feeling the way that I was feeling, in terms of, feeling like I wasn't good enough, for certain people that was in my life at the time, not realizing that a lot of it didn't have anything to do with me. You know what I'm saying? It was more about that person, whatever they had going on. You know how sometimes people can project their
Oh
own
yeah.
stuff onto you, and I felt
Oh
like a lot
yes.
of it that. But I'm not trying to say that I didn't have to do some self-reflection on my end too, because
Right.
like you said, you're having to figure out, okay, well, why am I continuing to attract these same type of people? What energy am I putting out that I'm receiving this? um in the end. And so, and I think a lot of times people don't necessarily want to do that work
Hmm.
when it comes to self-reflection, because it's so easy to, focus on what the other person did wrong, and but you're not necessarily focusing on, well, what role, did I play in
Did
this?
you play in this situation?
Right. So I think, to me, I think that might be the most hardest thing to do, is just to really take a look at yourself, because nobody really wants to do that, at least my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. And I have to agree with you because I've definitely had moments in my life, looking back, where I knew for a fact, I had no business linking up with individuals that I linked up with. And like I said, that goes for all plethora, all types of relationships. uh, but because I was in a space at that time where, I didn't feel worthy, I was kind of just like, it is what it is. um, that type of thing. Or I just wanted to be loved, I just wanted to belong, I want to be a part of something. I accepted all that came with it. um, Whether that was peace, whether it was chaos, it was frustration, anxiety, and so on and so forth. And
Mhm.
not necessarily thinking like long term, like how is this going to affect me moving forward. I'm
Mhm.
just living in the moment, because especially when things start off, everything seems, hunky dory, it's fine, you got the butterflies, you all are BFFs, y'all in sync, y'all doing this, you doing that. And then for whatever reason, life happens one way or the other. um and like I say, either you open up your eyes and you really ingest and intake what's really going on around you, or you continue to wear your blinders, and you just accept what people are basically dishing you out. And so, like I said, it goes back to us knowing ourselves, us having those conversations, um, and like I said, being willing, a to stand by ourselves, but also being willing to walk down that path, through those issues, through those trials and tribulations, and not necessarily having those particular people support us, because
Right.
you know
Mhm.
because because we've been with them for so long. It can be scary to
Mhm.
think like, I'm gonna have to do all of this by myself, and it's just like, yeah, for a little while anyway. And then you
Yeah.
may not even have to do it by yourself. There may actually be another whole supportive group out there for you. Um, if you are willing to receive it, and walk into that, but you won't know, until, like I said, you let go of fear, and you're willing to walk forward, to it. So, like I said, it just goes back to us. We have got to start taking accountability when it comes to the roles in which we play in all of our relationships, whether
Mhm.
they're good, whether they are bad, whether they are
Mhm.
really, really, really bad. Because the number one denominator in all of this, especially if you keep seeing a repetitive cycle, it's
Mhm.
you.
It's you.
It's you. We can't change anybody. We are all of this age. Those of us that's like 35 plus, you're pretty much set in your ways. It's not very
Mhm.
much, you're going to be willing to change and or compromise in some instances and or situations. um but like I said, if you want a better you see yourself with a better future, You want to grow. Part of growing is there's a stretching, there's a
Mm-hmm.
pulling, there's a tugging, and all of, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can get uncomfortable. At times it can cause some growing pains. It may make us a little achy, a little frustrated, a little irritable, but at the end of the day, we still have to realize the goal at the end of the road. And so if one of your goal is to have more positive relationships, then it has to start with you. You've got to first have the most positive relationship, most loving relationship, most peaceful, most supportive relationship with yourself. And then that energy will exude to those whom you choose to attach yourself to, or you will have more of a better discernment when negativity or toxicity approach you. You'll be able to ward it off.
Exactly. I think that's a great point. And I think you really touched on to something there when you kind of already talked about compromise. So I think that might be a good kind of segue into talking about compromising and non-negotiables,
Mm-hmm.
because like let's say that you have a good sense of self and you know who you are and you're like, I'm whole, I'm healed, I'm ready to, connect with other people, whether it's, romantic relationships or friendships or whatever. And then you meet someone who you think is could be a potential good person for
Mm-hmm.
your life. But there might be some things that, you may not really like about the person. Um, I think this is a good way to kind of transition into compromising and non-negotiables. So, first off, when do you think compromising is appropriate? Maybe we can start off there.
Ooh, when is compromising appropriate?
Mm-hmm.
That is a good question. This is something I will say. I understand the whole facet around compromise. Um, I'm more of a proponent for negotiation because I feel like sometimes, especially in the way that we've been taught and or raised or how we view the word compromise, I feel like sometimes compromise can be seen through the lenses of somebody wins and somebody loses versus negotiation. It's a win-win for both parties if we decide to get on um the same leg and or track. um so when is a good time to compromise? I would say if you are in a relationship, once again, don't necessarily have to be romantic, um and you see that the situation at hand, um well, I'll say this, although you may have a way of looking at things or you may feel like your way is the best way, if you've heard out your partner, your colleague, your boo, your bae, and they also um have a good suggestion and or idea, it actually may even be better than yours. To me, that would be an opportunity for compromise. Because once again, it goes back. None of us are perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and just because you have an idea, and you feel like, hey, in this moment, in this time, in this situation, this is the better route. Like I said, if you hear your partner out, they actually may have a better suggestion, and maybe you can utilize your tactic come another time, or even utilize just parts of it in the situation. So that would be an example where I would feel like it would be a good option to compromise.
I agree with that too, because I think that's a great example. Because I think when you talk about the topic of compromising, you have to really get a good sense of what that means. And I think that you gave a great definition of like what you felt that it was. And I also like that you said that it was negotiation, because I feel like it can be in a lot of ways. We all can't win. We all can't
Yeah.
have things our way. And I think a lot of times when we're in relationships, regardless if it's romantic or platonic or whatever, we want our needs to be met. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And which it should be. There should be times, when our needs should be met. But then you also have to think about, okay, well, when I'm in a partnership or relationship with someone else, that other person has to have their needs met too sometimes. So when I
Exactly.
think compromise, I'm thinking on like, okay, well, how can we kind of come together on a situation where we're both being heard and
Right.
both of us are kind of getting something out of this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like maybe this time, we'll do something that you want to do, but the next time it'll be something that I want to do. That way we both win. You know what I'm saying? And we're both getting something out of the deal. And so I think that you have to be willing to compromise. And I think
Mm.
a lot of times people aren't willing to do that for whatever reasons. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But I can guarantee if you don't compromise, that you probably ain't gonna be able to have positive, good, healthy relationships with other people, because
Yeah.
for at some point people aren't gonna want to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be like, no, like you selfish. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like you really need to be able to like understand that this is not Burger King. You remember the guy that used to go, what was his name? The remember when we were at high school? I'm sorry, y'all. When we were at high school, we had that substitute teacher. He used to say that. So you remember?
I don't
Okay,
remember.
well, anyway, he would always used to say, it was an old man. I can't remember his name, but anyway, he used to say, "This ain't Burger King. You can't have it your way," and like that always stuck with me because it's true.
Yeah.
Like you cannot always have it your way. You have to understand that like other people have the right to be able to voice their needs and their opinions as well. And I think that was partly part of my problem before, because I never thought that I had a voice until
Mhm.
much later in
Yeah.
life, when I realized, okay, well, why is it that you always getting what you want, but I can't never say what I want? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because of fear or whatever have you that I might have been, dealing within myself or whatever. But then I realized, okay, well, okay, I can speak up too, but I can do it in a way that is appropriate.
Exactly.
That's keyword, appropriate. And
Not condescending.
right. And an assertive manner,
Right.
where you're able to hear what I'm saying and you hear me well, but at the same time, it's not in a way that's belittling or degrading
I agree,
to
cuz.
you.
I agree.
So yeah.
I agree.
So compromising definitely is something that's important. But then on the flip side of that, you have non-negotiable.
Woo.
Which are those things that
Ain't no bending, ain't no
yeah,
twisting. Mm-mm. It's
nothing.
just a nada. Mm-mm.
So
Thank you, but
I'll
no thank you.
right. So I think I'll pose the same question there. When is non-negotiables appropriate?
When are they appropriate?
Yeah, in terms of like, when is it okay to be like, okay, I'm not gonna waver on this? Is that something?
That's the thing. I don't. Your non-negotiables are your non-negotiables, and a lot of times our non-negotiables are built around, once again, who we are. They
Mm-hmm.
usually tie back to our morals and our values, how we've been raised as children, what we have been taught, what's important, what's a value, what's a value um, in life, what is ethical, and things like that. So I know for me, if I have to go back and look at um some of my screw ups. Um, and that's what they were, just screw ups. Once again, I knew I didn't have no business being in those spaces with those people that I was in. Um, and I wavered. I went back on what I said that I would not do, or what I would not tolerate, and it did not turn out well for me. I ended up hurt. I ended up frustrated. I felt like, in a lot of ways, I could have been much further
Mhm.
in my career, in various relationships, than what I am now, because of the mistakes that I have made and things like that. So, my thing is, whatever you feel are things that you are not going to go back on. You don't really necessarily feel like, you have to explain yourself to people as to why you feel the way that you feel, or believe what it is that you believe. Um, you stand firm on that. You stand firm, and either the people in your life, they're going to respect it, or they're going to move on. And like I said, you're going to have them people that's going to challenge you just to see, um, if what you saying, do you believe in it? Do you stand firm on it
Mhm.
yourself? But I don't necessarily think that there's a good time where you need to give any type of slack when it comes to your
Well, the
non-negotiable.
reason and I agree with you. And the reason why I kind of brought that up and asked it in the way that I did is
Hmm.
because you know how sometimes people will feel like, okay, well, you blocking your blessing because you're not willing to kind of waver on this particular area. Perfect example. I'll give you some common non-negotiables.
Okay.
Like physical attraction or someone's religious beliefs or honesty or someone who has a sense of humor. These are certain characteristics that sometimes people can consider to be like a non-negotiable. But what if you meet someone who has pretty much everything that you like except for that one thing or two things? You know what I'm saying? Would it be appropriate to not deal with the person because they don't have this? That's why you see why I kind of asked it like that, kind of doing
Hmm.
it like a devil's advocate, if you will. Because I had been, told that before. Well, you need to kind of waver on certain things or whatever. And I'm just like, but wait a minute. If this is something that I don't feel is gonna work for me,
Hmm.
and what I feel like is best for me, then why would I need to waver on that? I'm a firm believer in, like, if you stand in your truth, you will be rewarded for that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, I don't think, and even from a spiritual standpoint, I mean, I do realize that God puts people, in our lives for reasons and situations, things like that. But I also feel like He's not going to put people in our lives that are going to harm us and hinder, like, especially if it's something that, if we're trying to really, like, build our relationship with God or whatever, like, I wouldn't think He would want people in our life that's going to hinder that. You know what I'm saying? That's going to keep us from living the type of life that He wants us to live. You know what I'm saying? So
But that
that's go
that
ahead.
goes back to your morals and values. That's a
Exactly.
decision. Yeah. So
Exactly.
although he does not want that for us, at the
Free
same time,
will.
he also gives you free will to make
Right.
those choices and or decisions as well.
Exactly. That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point. So that's why I just kind of brought it up in that way. And so, and I know, like, sometimes, people have the right to, choose in terms of, like, what they like and stuff like that. And I also feel like you do yourself a real disservice if you feel like you have to, in a lot of ways, I don't want to say cater, but feel like you're going against what you believe in order to kind of please somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's something that that you don't like, like, it's okay to kind of like walk away from that and be
Mhm.
like, you know what? I'm not, in this sense, I'm not willing to compromise on this because I think this would do more harm than good for
Right.
me to have this in my life, or this person, or whatever the situation is.
Right.
And it could be, maybe right now you may not feel like you want that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
As we continue to, get older, we grow and we continuously evolve. Our beliefs may change,
Yeah.
down the line. But as in this moment, in the present moment, just thinking about like what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, to be willing to live in that truth, even if that means that you're not going to have a lot of people around you, during that particular time in their phase. But I totally agree with you. Cause and I would say as we evolve, what may have been a non-negotiable when you were like a teenager or in your 20s, early 30s, may not necessarily be a non-negotiable moving forward in your life. And then it may still be, what you believed, your do's and don'ts still may be on that exact same page as they are now. I am a big firm believer in whatever it is that you want from another individual. I highly, highly encourage, I highly believe that you should also be exhibiting those traits, or at least working, making progress um towards becoming better in that particular arena. Because once again, it's not fair for us to say, hey, my non negotiable is I don't want to be around people um, who drink a lot, you know, that type of thing. But, behind closed doors, I mean, you know,
Throw
you
them back.
throwing, yeah, you throwing bottles back like, they baby juice or bottles of water, that type of thing. So um you gotta be on the same playing field. If you're gonna sit up here and you want to seek out people who share those same attributes as you. And once again, the truth may hurt. But that also comes into play, like I said, with you being honest and truthful when it comes to yourself and having those hard conversations that a lot of times we don't necessarily want to do, and going into those fears we don't necessarily want to go. But knowing at the end of the day, it's about us going higher and being better and being much stronger than what we were. So if your non-negotiables are your non-negotiables, hey, who am I? Who's Shnequia to sit up here and tell you that you need to change X, Y, and Z? I do think that some things that probably are in the non-negotiable category are things that can be you can work you can work towards in a relationship. I'll put it that way. But like I said, once again, it's that's different for everybody. So, like what Shaniqua may sit up here and tolerate, or what she's willing to compromise or negotiate on, I may not be, I may not be down for that, and then vice versa. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make one person right and the other person
Hmm.
wrong. Like I said, it's just basically how you are raised. But at the end of the day, if you've got a goal at hand and you know for a fact that this is where you want to go, then like I said, you gonna have to chop and screw some stuff up. And sometimes that chopping and screwing process, it ain't the kindest, it's not the friendliness. Just made up a word.
Really is. It's okay.
But like I said, you gonna if you trying to get to where it is that you got to go, everybody can't always sit up here um and go with you. So
Yeah. Well, what do you think about like people that might be fearful of, I guess, owning up to their non-negotiables because they may have a fear? of being alone or feeling like no one will want them. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's for a friendship or a relationship, like how would they deal with that? Like, I mean, I think we're basically what we've been saying is, it's okay to really own your truth and really know what works for you. But at the end of the day, that can be easier said than done. And
Right.
then there may be some people out there who feel like, I've done all of that and I'm still,
Mhm.
like single. I still don't really have a good friendship circle or whatever have you. Like, what do you think you would say to them?
I would say if COVID has not taught us anything, COVID has definitely transcended any type of space, especially physical space, when it comes to us networking and or meeting like-minded individuals. I know during the early onset of COVID, and even now just moving forward and things of that nature, I have met so many men, so many women online, and I'm not talking about dating sites or anything like that. Just being in groups. So whether it's a Christian based group, it's a book group, it's a group, for women of color, us just sit up here encouraging and motivating and boosting each other up and things like that. So that would be one of my suggestions, especially if you are on social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, you may have a YouTube account, LinkedIn. Try to find a group of people whom you identify with. You would be surprised and amazed at how many people have very similar experiences to you, that can identify with you, that are waiting for you to tell your story. You may be scared. And just because you decided just to open up your mouth and say, "Hi, my name is Angela, and I went through X, Y, and Z," man, just the load that you just helped taking off somebody else's back. And so that's what I would encourage. If you are not meeting people in person is not necessarily your thing. You don't like to be around a lot of people. You don't like a lot of people up in your physical space, and things like that. Trust and believe there are communities of people online that you can meet and who are out here, you all trying to do the right thing. Because we know that there's plenty of people out there that's doing the far opposite. But like I said, there are a lot of individuals that's trying to glow up. They trying to come up. They have ideas they want to share and bounce off people just like you. They need a friend. They want somebody to sit up here and watch a movie with, whether that's in person or y'all are doing a watch party via Netflix, or you all are going on trips together and things like that. But once again, it comes back to you. You've got to be willing to take that step. We're not kids, anymore. When you're a child, you have so many people around you in your village that are there to advocate for you and to support you and to help mold you and stand up for you. And, when people feel like you have arrived in life, or you get a certain age, or you've achieved certain milestones, um, in life, there comes a point, and you stated it earlier, that you have got to find your own voice and be
Mm-hmm.
willing to stand up for yourself. So if I can't encourage you any more than I have, like I said, find a group of people, whether in person or in social media world, who can help you. And you, like I said, you never ever know who you may meet in the process, who's going to help to further whatever goals that you have set for yourself. Another uh tactic that I would highly encourage people to. I also did this during COVID and thoroughly enjoyed it. It released some things, released me out of abundance. Well, I did a couple of things. I got a life coach, and I have been wanting to do life coaching for years. And that was the bum.dd.com. Um, my coach, Philip, I call him my big brother. He hit me up top of my head about some things that, like I said, I had in that back corner. I ain't really want to deal with. Because we all, I get to that later. It's not that important.
Mm-hmm.
But it really, really, it was important to me. But at that moment, I didn't necessarily want to
You wasn't
break.
ready at the time.
I was not ready to approach that situation. But at the same time, it was like if you don't approach it, Keisha, all these other dreams and goals and aspirations that you have, those doors are not going to open because everything is still tied to this that you have yet to sit up here and want to deal with. And so when I dealt with it, like I said, I just felt this release. The stress came off, the irritability, the frustration, um, and things like that. So if you can afford a life coach, get your life coach. And like Shnequia has mentioned on countless occasions, for some of us, we do need to dive a little bit deeper because with life coaches, it's more so tied to goals,
Mm-hmm.
or to a certain sector of your life compared to, counseling that goes a little bit more deeper into
Yeah.
those various layers of our life. And so there's nothing wrong either. If you feel like, hey, I'm stuck, I don't know how to move on, or Ao, I'm single and I'm ready to connect. And I'm having problems connecting to or meeting girlfriends. I'm having problems sitting up here, interacting with the opposite sex. You may need to talk to a professional, someone who does not know you, that can give you their not only their unbiased opinion, but unlock some things inside of you that's probably been
Mm-hmm.
stored there for years or months that either, like I said, been laying dormant, you've been idle, you've been in denial about, or you just never ever knew it was there. So that's just some of my encouragement to our audience members. What about yourself, cuz?
No, I pretty much I agree with everything that you said. So I don't think I want to add anything differently to that other than probably just, you know, knowing that it's okay to feel what you're feeling. Like if you
Yeah.
feel like, I don't really like where things are going right now, and like I was saying before, really confronting that a lot of times, because a lot of times I don't think that we do that enough. We put it on the back burner, like you were saying before when you described your situation. We put it on the back burner, and we'll get to it whenever we can or whenever we want to. But just I think just acknowledging it does a lot.
Mm,
It really just getting it out, really just saying that, I think does wonders. And once you're able to really like, own that part of yourself and really be like, you know what, I realize that this is something that I'm struggling with.
yeah.
Let me figure out what can I do to best help me in this regard. And I definitely do feel like it's important to connect, with like-minded people, people that have some things that are in common with you, because I think, y'all have some common, goals, things that you have going on, but also at the same time, they might be able to teach you things that you may not have already known. Because I'm
Mhm.
a firm believer in, you should definitely not always be the most successful and smartest person in your circle. Like there should be, you should constantly be wanting to really connect with people who that's going to help further advance you. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And sometimes that might be people that are different than us in terms of how we think and stuff like that. But at the same time, people that can really, like push you to your greatness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that that's important too. And like we said before, knowing when it might be necessary for you to seek professional help, when you feel like, okay, I'm making friends and doing this or whatever, but I think I might need something a little bit more deeper
Yeah.
that I need to work on. So utilizing those resources too, when and again, it all goes back to knowing who you are and really knowing, what's important to you.
Yeah. Because when you know what's important to you, you know who you are and who you belong to.
Mm-hmm.
You will not sit up here and tolerate just what people choose to dish out to you. Once again, it's all based in our decision making. So when people bring things to us or they present themselves in certain forms and fashions, once again, you have the opportunity to allow them into your life and wreak havoc, or it may turn out to be the most beautiful experience that you ever had. Um, or make a decision right then and there, like, nah, is I'm just gonna graciously bow out.
Mm-hmm. Chuck
So
up the deuces, if you will.
whoop whoop.
And sometimes, you might have to do that.
Yeah,
And it's okay, and it's not the end of the world if you do have to do that.
it's not. It's not.
Yeah, because it is quite all right.
And I'm so glad, cuz, that you mentioned the whole point about just acknowledging um how we may be feeling in a given moment. Because I especially believe that, especially in our community. When I say our community, I mean the Black community. um we don't celebrate that, we don't teach that um a lot. A lot of us are taught just to just kind of get over stuff. Life goes on. um
Mm-hmm.
and for some of us, that may be, like you said, easier said than done. For some people, they can do just that. And for some of us, we need to sit a moment
Yeah.
with whatever it is that we're having an issue with. And so, one piece of advice I share with my students, especially my seniors, and it's something that I learned years ago when I was part of this women's group, a group of women here in Tallahassee that was either you were unemployed or you were underemployed.
Mm.
But we had a guest speaker who said something, and to this day, I keep this near and dear to my heart. And she said that it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
I never heard anybody say that, and that blew my mind. Because, like I said, that's something, you all, that a lot of us are not necessarily taught.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you are faced with those moments where you don't feel okay, it's okay. And don't let nobody sit up here and tell you otherwise. That's where these other avenues come into place to help make you a better version of yourself. But know that you can't stay there.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You can't stay in that space. But it's okay for a moment if you are not okay. And once again, being willing to be honest with yourself and doing what it takes to move forward.
Well said. Well said. I really feel what you're saying. I think that is so true, and I think that that is a good way to kind of end um this episode and end of this discussion. But before we do that, one way that we like to end our episodes, we like to end it with what we call an insightful moment. And basically, what that is just, where we share something, some word of wisdom, some knowledge. It could be a poem, it could be a song lyric, it could be a Bible scripture, just something that we can leave to you all, just to kind of help inspire you or just encourage you. And we actually do have one this week. It comes from Alicia. She's a listener of our show, and it's actually by way of Drake, the rapper Drake, because
Hmm.
it's a song lyric, and it basically it says, "Living doesn't mean you're alive."
Mm. Oof.
So,
Living does not mean that you are alive. And that's a word within itself right there.
right. So, thank you so much, Alicia, for sharing that with us. And you too can share your insightful moment. You could definitely either email it to us at insightfulconversations37 at gmail.com, or you can like and follow us, Insightful Conversations with SNL, on Facebook and Instagram with our username at Insight Combo WSL. And that's how you can also send us insightful moment things like that too. And also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So remember, I told you in the beginning that I was going to remind you again. So go ahead, if you haven't already, just go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and also go ahead and like this video and share it with your friends or family members, or whoever you feel like could benefit from this. And also, we always love to hear from you. So if y'all have any ideas about topics, or any guests that y'all think might be good for us to have on, please feel free to let us know. Any feedback,
Yeah.
whether it's, positive or constructive, we love to hear from you. Okay. Do you have anything else, Lakeisha?
Nothing else, cuz.
Yeah. And also, definitely remember that y'all can listen to us on all major podcast platforms too. So just in case if you don't want to watch, you can definitely listen to us. Okay. And with that being said, I personally don't have anything else. I hope that you were able to really get something out of this episode. You got some gems, some jewels that you can take with you. Okay. So until the next time, I hope you all be safe. Really be mindful with this gas stuff. Like we said at the beginning, because it don't look like it's going down no time soon. So, just kind of be mindful of, you gotta take trips and stuff. Like, you know, really feel like, okay, do I really need to do this right now? Anything you can do to kind of save on money. But like I said, just take care of yourselves and each other. All right. And until next time.
Bye,
Peace.
y'all.
Bye.